I'm a firm believer that when we set goals, we should be setting goals to grow. Not setting goals to check it off our never ending to do list, but constantly setting goals to evolve, to grow, to expand, and to transform. The problem is, many of us set goals, check it off our list, and then run about our life, fall back into our comfort zone, fall back into familiarity, fall back into the way we used to do things, but there's no growth there. And so today, what I want to do is I want to share a simple strategy that I use to prioritize growth and to make sure that I'm always moving in the direction of my goals. So it's a simple strategy. It doesn't even need to be overwhelming, but what it does is it helps you to make sure that you're staying in alignment with where you want to be. So the first step is to identify 3 skills that you need to be able to reach this goal that you desire to accomplish. After you identify those 3 skills that you need to be able to reach that goal, then you identify what you can do to commit to each of these skills, to show up for each of these skills, and to develop each of these skills. After you identify those 3 skills and the steps that you're going to take to continuously develop those skills, I want you to consider how often you need to be involved in those skills. So how often do you need to work with a coach? How often do you need to attend a conference? How often would you like to read? How often do you need to develop your self-care? How often do you need to move your body? How often do you need to do whatever it is that you identified? So I like to pull out a journal and write it all down so that it keeps me really organized. So for example, when I was starting my entrepreneurship journey, I knew that in order to be a successful entrepreneur, I needed to be really, really well informed. And so for that skill to be well informed and to have the information that I needed, I knew that I was going to need a coach, somebody who had already blazed the trail before me and someone who could show me the way. The second skill that I honed in and recognized that I needed was personal development. And I needed to prioritize personal development because entrepreneurship is an ever expanding world. So for me, I decided that the skill that was going to help me hone in and grow into strengthening that personal development overall was twofold. I was going to need to continue to learn. And under that little umbrella, I decided that attending conferences, whether virtual or in person, was going to be imperative, as well as reading was also going to be extremely important. Finally, the third skill that I knew that I would need to be a successful entrepreneur was healthy self-care. Everything is energy, and the energy that I feel is the energy that I expend and share to others. And I knew that if I didn't first take care of myself, I wasn't going to be effective at taking care of other people. So I honed in and decided, how can I best support my energy? And that again fell under a couple different categories. I knew that I was going to need at least 8 hours of sleep every single night so that I woke up refreshed, restored, rejuvenated, and ready to take on the day. I knew that I was going to need to feed my body things that were going to keep me going, that were going to keep me moving. And I also knew that I needed to keep moving to keep my body's energy high vibe. So I built in time to make sure that I got sleep. That was a non-negotiable. I built in time to make sure that I was moving my body at least 30 minutes every single day. And then I made sure that I began to build in time to meal prep so that I didn't feel desperate or rushed to settle for food that I knew wasn't going to feed my body. Now, that's just an example that I use, but I use it for every time that I'm stepping into another level, every time that I'm doing something different, because the reality is, in order to achieve something different, you got to embody it first and then be prepared to receive it when it comes. And that first begins by understanding what you need to be ready for it. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is I'm going to challenge you to pull out your journal, your notebook, and I want you to write out what it is that you desire to accomplish. Then I want you to identify 3 skills that you need to accomplish that successfully. And then finally, I'm going to ask you to identify something that is going to help you get to each one of those skills. If when pulling out your journal and starting to write down where you want to be and the 3 skills to get there and then what kind of falls under each of those skills feels overwhelming to you, or you're like, I don't know exactly what it takes, one strategy that I always recommend is look at someone who is already succeeding in that area. So for example, if you're like, I really want to lose a significant amount of weight and I follow this amazing life-changing coach online, what are 3 things that that coach has and how can you begin to embody those skills today? If you're like, I'm ready to be a life coach and you're like, but I don't know the 3 skills that I need to be a successful life coach. Think of a life coach that you admire and consider what are the 3 skills that that life coach has that you can begin to embody, internalize, and start to practice in order to get to where you want to be. This was actually a strategy I utilized and how I even moved into the coaching world, because I looked at Oprah and I admire Oprah. And I'm like, she's doing amazing things. And even though I don't necessarily want to be Oprah, I love her resilience. I love how she keeps showing up. And I love how she's using her own story, her voice, her passion to change people's lives all over the world. And one thing that I knew about Oprah was that Oprah has not one, but multiple coaches to support her growth. And I knew immediately that any level of growth that I wanted to have, whether it be a physical level of growth by keeping in shape, whether it be entrepreneurial or career pursuit, whatever it was, I knew that coaching was something I needed by looking at an example of somebody I admired and someone who is already successful in that area. Now, the last step of the journey is to commit. It is great for you to identify where you want to be. It's great to identify the 3 skills that you need to get there and the steps that you'll take to develop those 3 skills to be able to get there. But if you don't commit, all of it's in vain. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is step into your power today and make a decision to commit to developing yourself more in the direction of where you desire to be. If you're done hoping, wishing, and waiting for your dreams to come true, and you're really ready to live your best life, I have just the thing for you. If you use the link below, you can get my totally free Live Your Best Life Guide, where I walk you through the process of identifying what's working and how to do more of it, what's not working, and how to do less of it. Totally audit and shift your life to align with where it is that you want to be. So use the link below, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.